We have 4 people, 6 people. Who have we got? Who is here? 7 people. Can you guys hear me? Yay, nay? 7 people in the chat. Who are they? Does anyone saying out? Who have we got? We've got James, we've got Kev, Mr. Carter, we've got Saley. Hi, Alison. We've got another Kev, we've got Michael, we've got Paul, Claire, Greg, Sarah. Who else have we got? We've got Alison and we've got Joey. How are you all doing? And yeah, so I don't know if you saw my earlier post. Had quite a few, I'd say quite a few, several, either calls or messages of people who are concerned of friends and family about drinking, and primarily drinking. There was one that was concerned with drugs, but I'm not in a position to advise regarding drugs because I was never into drugs. So, oh, cheers, Joey. Yeah, so I mean, I suppose the advice is the same, but obviously the situation is different. Everyone's different. Everyone's situation is different. But people have asked me, you know, how do they approach their friend or their family member? And it's difficult because when I was at my worst or best from a drinking point of view, but worse from a spectator family member point of view, if they ever made a comment, I was drinking too much or are you drinking again, I'd just completely switch off and in a way do it more. Because you're in your own little world and you don't want taken out of that world. You don't want people to mess with your little world. You know, you become constant liars and you become, you fabricate your own scenarios and your own stories to help you get what you want, which is drink. Who have we got? Let's carry on 1 second. We've got Dave, we've got Andy, Emma, Kathleen, Julie, Owen, John, Tom, and Al. Hey, pal, you're right, mate. Yeah, so, oh, we've got more. Sorry, I've missed. We've got Courtney. How you doing, Courtney? How's the little one? Carl Senior. Carl, did I see you on holiday? Great pictures with your daughter. We've got Steve and we've got Linda. Yeah, so how would you approach a family member or a friend who you know is drinking or drinking too much or constantly, should I say, and needs help, whether it be in your opinion or other people's opinions? I mean, whenever anybody approached me, yeah, like I say, I switched off, and I probably did it more to piss people off because when you're in a position like that, you don't like to get told what to do. I mean, it depends on the individual as well because I'm of the mentality, I'm quite strong-willed, and I don't believe that within reason anybody can tell anybody what to do. Everybody's got their own lives and everybody has the decision, they can make their own mind up, but when they're caught in this sort of world of drinking and drug taking or gambling, or there's loads of scenarios, you know, there's loads of things, eating disorders, you know, your mind takes over and you're not in control, and nobody will tell you what to do because your mind is telling you that you need to continue. and it's difficult. And like now, so on the 26th of September this month, that will be my 4-year anniversary of being sober. So 4 years ago on the 26th, that was my first day of the medical rehabilitation unit, where I had to be medically withdrawn from alcohol. And that's where I had my episodes where, being restrained, having my heart stopped, and being helped. That was the start of the help. And some people have said that their friends and family members need this kind of treatment, but it's getting the message across to the individual. I mean, I had a real distressing conversation via messenger with a lady yesterday who was really concerned about a friend who she hadn't seen a friend. She'd gone shopping and she'd seen a friend out and was in a real bad way and buying more alcohol, and so the lady took her home and tried to help and contacted me, and the lady in question, I won't go into too much detail. Social services are involved and things like that, and she's been, I know, after speaking to somebody who's recently left social services, if the social services are involved in any case regarding children and things like that, parents are offered the help. That's part of the package, if you like, that social services do. They try, and the social services, they don't want to. I know people see them in a different light when they're on they feel against them and things like that. Social services don't want to break up families. They want to try and keep them together. So if I know for a fact that if social services are involved with any sort of family and it involves drink and things like that, then the parent or the child, it can be the child, I know of a few children in their early teens who are receiving treatment. So it's not just an adult thing. But I'm of the opinion that children follow what their role models do. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm entitled to that. If you don't like it, don't agree with it, that's fine, but tough, not asked. So I think that if children get into drink at an early age, I'm quite sure 99% it's because they're following what their parents do or their close family members who they see on a regular basis, what they do. But yeah, as the message conversation went on, I was told that by the friend of the person who was in trouble was she'd been told they got no help from social services. And now I know for a fact that people, when social services, when they're involved, they help the parents, as I say, or child, by offering services regarding the AA, and I'm trying to think of the detox places. Depending on how serious the cases are with social services, it depends on the level of service you get. But they do point people in the right direction, because they don't want to break up families. The aim of the social services is to keep families together, and so they try their best. And then but on the flip side of that, the individual has to be willing to accept help. And then that brings it back to the individual has to want the help. Because you can be offered all the help in the world, but if your mind's telling you that you need drink and you need to keep on going, you're not going to accept that help. And it's your mind telling you that your body needs it. That's why you keep on doing it. And then it escalates and it gets worse. But from a friend on the outside looking into it, at a person who they have concerns for, it's a tough one. It's how do you approach it? As I say, some hellos. Oh Jesus, quite a few of you have been and gone. Rick, how you doing, son? Rick Vale, Jamie, David, Johnny, Jeff, Dave, sorry, Pete, Alicia, how are you doing in Turkey? Thomas, hi Claire, hi Susie, Mr. Stubbs and Martin. Yeah, so it's how do you approach that? And like I say, it is difficult because the more pressure you put on them, you can be, you know, concerned for their children, but the more pressure you put on them, there's a good chance that they're gonna go against you. I certainly did, but I'm different to everybody, and everybody's different to me. So it depends on how their mental state at the time, I guess, as well. But it is difficult. I mean, if you were a real good friend and real concerned, you could offer to take them to AA meetings. You know, people don't have to be alcoholics to attend AA meetings. You can go and support a friend or a family member, and be there with them. You know, make sure they go. And from an alcoholic's point of view, you can go to an AA meeting and you can just sit and listen. You don't have to talk about, you don't have to give your story, but you'll find that giving your story, giving your routine, explaining to others, and you'll find it a massive release. And people that are attending the AA meetings, we're all in the same boat. You know, people are at different stages in their recovery, and some people are just starting out, and it's frightening. Some of the stories that you can hear are frightening, but they need to be told. And AA meetings are great because you become a little family, you become a little community. Now, I've said on previous videos about I went to three AA meetings a week. One in Sandy Bay, Stroke Cuddington, the Methodist Church there, one in Winsford, and one in Sandbach. Now, at one of them locations, there was a gentleman who attended and always drunk, and that put me off. But as AA meetings go, they're fantastic because you can build the friendships. You can get contacts and people become available. If you're having a bad day, you know, you become that family in that much at AA meetings when you're seeing people on a regular basis that they will give you their phone numbers and they will offer you advice and they will, you know, tell you that ring me anytime if you want to chat or anything like that. And as I say, AA meetings, they weren't for me. There is a 12-step recovery program. And I'll be honest, it wasn't for me because I felt it had a lot to do with faith and religion, and I'll be honest, that's not for me. So I stopped going to AA meetings. I went to probably near 100 meetings, and all it took was one gentleman to put me off all of them at one location. So I stopped going, and my sort of I test myself. You know, I'm the guy who's stood on a bridge and I've got one devil on one shoulder saying jump and an angel on the other saying don't jump, and I test myself in that way. So I stopped going to AA meetings, and I tested myself to stay sober, and so far it's working. Every day's a battle, Don't get me wrong, it's hard as fuck, but because alcohol's the first thing you think of in the morning and the last thing you think of when you go to bed. But you know, when you are in that battle, I personally see it as a great test, a test of my mental strength, a test of my character, and I enjoy it. I enjoy it, and I enjoy it as well because people want you to fail. You know, human nature. We don't like seeing people be successful. You know, take Facebook. People love drama. People love failure. People love people not being happy. It's human nature, and I find that people want me to fail. People want me to have a drink and fail. I know that. I can feel that, and I see that as a challenge. Maybe that's just my mentality. I don't know, but I see every day as a challenge, and I challenge myself. Like I say, I'm the guy who will stand on a bridge and I might jump because I'll dare myself. Because I've got the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, and there's a good chance I would jump because I don't know. That's me. Obviously, there has been times when I have thought about ending everything and putting myself and others out of the misery, but that's the stage you get to. You know, that's when you're at your worst. So yeah, it's tough, but the AA meetings, you know, if you're a good friend that you've got concerns for, or a family member, then you know, get the people who you're concerned about to AA meetings. If you're a real friend, you know, and the way you go about it, just ask them if you want to go out. Ask the people who you're concerned for if they want to go out, want to take you to a meeting. I'm going to sit with you and just reassure them. They don't have to say a word. They can introduce themselves. They will be offered. Excuse me. They will be offered if they want to talk, if they want to contribute, and people will listen to their story. And then people will advise you, depending on what stage people are at in their recovery. And maybe you're not in your recovery, and maybe you do need a drink to build up the courage to go. And that's fine. They accept everybody. Everybody's accepted at AA meetings. And you don't need to feel embarrassed. All right, Al, you take care, mate. Thank you. Yeah, message me if you need anything, mate. Okay. Yeah, you don't need to feel embarrassed about going to meetings. I mean, the meetings are in the evenings, you know, 8, 9 o'clock, usually finished at 10. And if you go to local meetings, you'll see people in there who you know. You know, if you're in Northwich or Winsford or wherever, you go to AA meetings within that area, you'll probably know half the people in there. And I found it reassuring being in there. But as I say, in the end, AA wasn't for me because of one individual, and I was disappointed. I was disappointed that I let myself be affected by one person who clearly needed help as well. You know, he was no different to me, but I found it disrespectful to the rest that he was like that. It's if you've not heard me explain, it's in second stream that I did. But yeah, if you're a real friend and you've got concerns of a family member, just talk to them calmly and say, you know, I want to take you to an AA meeting. I'll come with you. I'll support you. I'll sit there with you, and just see how it goes. You can walk out at any time. You don't have to sit there till the end. You know, you have a break halfway through. You'll have a cup of tea or a coffee and a biscuit. You go outside for a fag. You'll chat generally to the other people. And everyone's really approachable, and everybody will ask you where you are, where you know where you're at in your life, and and what you're doing, and they'll advise you. They'll tell you that this worked for them and that worked for another. Really kind people, and you know, it's give people, other people giving up their free time, but everybody in that room at an AA meeting has been where an alcoholic's been. They've been to the dark places, that they've relapsed. Some people have been really, you know, bad, and they've been in hospital and they've relapsed a couple of times, but they're still working, they're still fighting to get clean. So yeah, get your friend to AA meetings, but like, you've got to reassure them, you've got to talk to them calmly. Talk to them, not at them. You know, don't, if you go to a friend and you start telling them, then they're gonna rebel, because they're at that stage where it's going to interrupt their routine. It's going to be an inconvenience because their mind's telling them that they need to drink at that time. Everything I'm saying here is my opinion. You know, it's not gospel, but this is how I would react. You know, if somebody told me I'm going to an AA meeting, I wouldn't go. If somebody suggested it and talked to the person, or, you know, not at them, to them, then there's a chance they might go, you know. And do your research. Go on the AA websites and do your research into what goes on. Do your research into the 12 steps. You know, you don't have to do the 12 steps of recovery. You don't have to take that line. As I say, on the 26th of September, I'll be 4 years sober, and I didn't go down the line of 12 steps. I did my own thing, if I'm honest. I tried AA meetings, went to over 100 AA meetings, and my wife went to the family meetings a few times in Middlewich. You know, the family meetings there are for friends, loved ones who can go to there, and they can all, the loved ones can chat, the family members can chat about how they're dealing with their partner in certain scenarios and situations, and where they are in their lives, and that they'll exchange their phone numbers, and they'll keep in touch. And if they've got problems, you know, they'll talk on how, they'll exchange details on how to resolve problems with their partners, which is a great facility for parents. You know, there's parents, there's brothers, there's wives, there's girlfriends, there's general friends who go to the meetings. And they just share information and share stories of where they're at and what's worked for them, what's not worked for them. And you sort of build up, you build up some ammunition that you can use. My wife said it certainly helped her to gain information of how to deal with me and where I'm at. But like I say, it's difficult. When I was at my worst, if anybody said to me, "Stop drinking, you're drinking too much," I'd completely switch off, and then I'd go at it. That'd be an excuse. I was pissed off. Right, I'm pissed off. I'm going to drink more. But I would use anything for, and I'm sure the people who you're concerned about, you know, yeah, they'll have a good day and they'll drink to celebrate. They have a bad day, they'll drink to commiserate. You know, it's these emotions, these feelings that they've got going through their head. They'll use it, we'll use it as alcoholics to fabricate stories to allow us to do what we want. It's tough. It's really tough. Obviously, I'm telling my story, my opinions, my views from an alcoholic's point of view, because I am an alcoholic. I'll always be an alcoholic. But now, nearly 4 years down the line, I've got recovering in front of the word alcoholic. So, you know, I'm proud of that. And I've held that for 4 years, nearly 4 years. I can't tell you I'll have that in front of alcoholic tomorrow. Can't tell you that, but I'm hoping so. You know, if I get my head on my pillow tonight and I've not had a drink today, That's today's battle won. And so far, I'm winning. And tomorrow, it's a different battle. We'll see what that brings. But as I say, from an alcoholic's point of view, I embrace that battle. When your loved ones and your friends who you're concerned about, don't talk at them, because they will switch off and they'll rebel against you. Talk to them, and don't do it in a, don't talk in a demanding way. Express feelings, express emotions. But if you go in there screaming and shouting and demand that they go and get help, they're not going to do it. Not going to do it at all. And it's important that you need to get on side with the person who you're concerned about. You need to adapt your mentality to try and think what they're thinking. The more you can educate yourself about alcoholism, about alcoholics, there's information out there. Just ask that Mr. Google or Mrs. Google. There's loads of information on NHS websites about alcoholics, and it's the same for drugs. It's the same for eating disorders. Information, NHS websites, there's loads there. Now, the more you educate yourself, the more help you can be to your friend or family member who you are concerned about. Just let me shut this door. Sorry, one sec. Excuse me. Sorry, the cat wanted to go out. Yeah, so don't start screaming and shouting and demanding that your friend or family member goes and gets help. Ultimately, they've got to do it themselves. They have to recognize that they have a problem. And that could be a long, drawn-out process, because that person, from my experience, it's routine. They're in the routine. They're lying all the time. They're fabricating their story to enable them to get a drink. I know of people who are drinking daily and still going to work, operating machinery, and putting people's lives in danger. And that's bad. But they're in that rut where that's where they are in their lives. And a lot of people have to understand, when you're on the outside looking in, people need to educate themselves on how to deal with and how to approach the subject of somebody drinking too much. As I said, if somebody came to me, and I'd see it as people mithering me, people pissing me off, and that would be my excuse to drink more. So it's a touchy subject. It is a touchy subject. But people, we're all different, and we all take information differently. We all accept information differently. So you have to be careful on that. You have to be careful, because the last thing you want to do is have them turn against you. The person that you're trying to help, you don't want them to switch off, because as soon as they disengage your conversation, as soon as you mention about their drinking problems and things like that, they'll switch off and they'll do it more. And trust me, I know, because I've been that one who switched off and done more. And generally that's when you're at your lowest point as well, or when you're not at your lowest point, that could take you further down from the alcoholic's point of view. So you've got to be careful. But the question that I had about social services, having spoken to a lady who had recently left social services, she assured me that anybody who has social services working with the family, that either the child or an adult in that family has drink problems, then they are offered the services of the National National Health Services, because I know that the friend who's concerned about one of these people has been told that social services did nothing, didn't offer anything. Now, the person who they were told off was the person who has the drink problem, I believe. So that could have been a lie and fabricated, or they could have been told when they were at the lowest point. You know, when they were just fabricating a story to get you off their back, if you like. So yeah, social services don't leave people pissing in the wind, if you like. If there's a family that they're investigating or working with, I like to say not investigating, working with, then they do offer the services, the help that people need. So I know the lady in question who sent me the questions yesterday, I know they've been lied to. Sorry to say, but you've been lied to. But yeah, so approaching an alcoholic about stopping drinking is dangerous ground. It is dangerous ground because you've got to send them one of two ways. If I was sat in now at my worst stage when I was really bad, and my wife came in, said to me, well, to be fair, my wife just had to give me that look. If she came in from work or something and I had a beer in my hand or something like that, then she just had to give me that look. She'd look at me beer, look at me, and then, you know, the eyes would roll, and that'd be enough to piss me off. That'd be enough to make me do it more. If my daughters were an inconvenience to my life, if you like, when I was at my worst. And, you know, they're 19 now, twins, and we've spoken and we've, you know, but like I said on an earlier stream, they were in my way of me doing what I wanted to do. And that's how bad your mind gets. You know, my daughters, you know, I've been a father for 19 years, but I've only been a dad for 4 years because the rest I was at my worst for, you know, 75% of their life. They got in my way, and this is how bad people get. People have to understand. You have to try and get yourself on the same wavelength, and before approaching the subject of an alcoholic drinking, and it's difficult. I can imagine it is difficult. You know, when you really care for somebody, if it's a friend or a loved one, a partner, a husband, a mistress, whatever, if you really care for someone, I can imagine it's really difficult to just sit and watch them, feeling helpless that you can't help them. But as I say, talk to them, not at them, and try and educate yourselves, you know, by using Google and the NHS websites. There's loads, honestly, there's loads of information out there on how to approach the subject. And not just drinking, drugs as well, and eating disorders, and gambling. There's information, there's help there on how you would or how to approach the subject with a friend or a family member. It's really good. I've read it myself. There's loads of ways, there's loads of techniques, and you can do it, because I've had a fair few messages about people concerned, friends and family, and you just got to tread carefully. And remember, an alcoholic's life is a lie. That is fact. If you disagree, tough shit. I've been there, and 90%, 99% that came out of my mouth when I was at my worst was a lie, because I needed to fabricate that story. My mind was telling me to fabricate anything so I could keep on drinking. And that's a fact. And if there's anybody on here who has been in or is in or is further down the line than me in recovery, you'll probably agree. I'm quite sure you will. Because when you're waking up in the morning and you're not having cereal, you're nipping out to the shed to pretend to get a soft drink, but you've got beers and cider and whatever stashed out there, and you can have a quick net put. It's the way your life becomes. Trust me, I'm experienced at that. But yeah, so tread carefully. You do have to tread carefully, and like I say, it's hard watching. Oh, it's hard watching a friend destroy themselves or a family member, and I suppose if it's a loved one and you live with them and you're seeing them do this every day, like my wife was, I guess one option is to walk away. You know, but if you care for somebody that much, you'll try and help them. But the person in question has to be in a position to accept that help. You know, at my worst, the last 6 or 7 years of my drinking career, if you like, when I was at my worst, nobody could talk to me because I wouldn't listen. Wouldn't listen. That was my life. I was so blinkered on me getting what I needed and what my mind was telling me, and your daily routine becomes the same, and you're lying all the time. I feel like I'm repeating myself a bit more. Sorry if I'm blabbing on. I forget where I'm at sometimes. So yeah, so approach it, tread carefully with it. There is help. The social services, when they're involved with a family, they do offer help. That's for the couple of people that have messaged me about that. And I've had that confirmed from a lady who just left the social services. And yeah, I can confirm that they are offered help with their drinking or drug taking. And the other people who messaged me, one was concerned about a wife, one was concerned about best friend, and there's a few others as well. Just tread carefully. As I say, don't talk at them, talk to them, and you know, try and take yourself down to the level. But I would recommend NHS websites on it. You know, educate yourselves on how to approach the subject. I have read a load of pages, absolute loads on it, and there is some good ways on there. As I say, just get onto Google. You've got to try and get yourself to the level. Try and understand the thought process of an alcoholic or whoever you're trying to help. Try and just remember their mind is telling them their body needs it. And if they're in a position where they're trying to stop and their body's hurting, you know, they need medical assistance. But like I said in the last video, first port of call is get them to the doctor, get them to the GP, make that appointment and take them. If you're a good friend, you would go with them. Reassure them that everything's going to be fine, you're going to get help. But everybody in any situation, anything that, not just addiction, anything, the GP needs to know what's going on, where you're at, whether it's mental issues or physical issues. The GP is the first port of call because it needs to go on your record of where you're up to in your life, what you're doing, what your problems are. Because if all of a sudden you need emergency treatment, where you're at in your life and your health could affect the actual treatment you get. So you need to get your friend or loved one who you're concerned about to the GP. GP's first port of call, and although people have experienced have bad experiences at GPs with how they're treated, let me tell you, you're not gonna, from an alcoholic's point of view, it takes great courage, and because I was shitting myself, but I was proud of myself because I made that step. And I went to my GP and I was absolutely fucking gutted. I built myself up. You know, I thought I was going to go there and get fixed. You know, I thought I was going to go there, and literally I wasn't in there 5 minutes. I sat there, explained to the GP what was going on. I won't name them because it's not fair. I'm not here to defend it. Told my story. I was in tears. I was an absolute wreck. Looked a wreck, probably smelt a wreck. And I got literally, the GP sat there nodding, turned round, went to put his arm up for a rack of leaflets, handed me a leaflet, got out of his seat, told me read that, opened the door, looked out the door, looked at me, looked out the door again. That was it. But, you know, that was my experience. Not all GPs are the same, but I have had a lot of complaints about how people are treated. No, you want encouragement, I guess, and you want recognition of the fact that you're trying to do the right thing. You're trying to put things right. You don't just want to get a leaflet and then thrown out the door. You know, you want to be guided to help. But the NHS now have got everything signposted. So that's the NHS term, where you go to a GP, they'll show you the signpost and they'll show you which direction to go, and they'll refer you in the correct direction. You know, I got a lot of respect for GPs. They've got a real hard job, and the quicker you get the person you're concerned about there, the quicker they can get referred. And you know, you're not going to get fixed overnight. You know, everything takes time. There's a lot of people, you'd be surprised how many people are suffering, either the same or worse. You know, and there's some people who are still getting treated. You know, it can take a while. I mean, the footballer Paul Gascoigne, he went into the rehabilitation clinic that I went to. Paul Gascoigne has been there 4 times. So, you know, there's no guarantee it's going to work for you, but, you know, getting to your GP, getting everything logged on your records in case you need emergency treatment, and then getting pointed in the right direction to go. That it's so important. And then you take it from there. You know, it's like there is specialist people trained to help you, but you've got to make that step. You know, you've got to accept that you've got a problem. And I'm not just talking about alcoholism. I'm talking about drug abuse, eating disorders. You've got to make that step. You've got to try and break your thought process. You've got to fight against your mind, and you've got to be brave. You know, some people are I'm not going to say weak-minded. We're all different, and you know, I'm quite strong-minded, I'd like to think, but I found it so hard to go to the GP. But I did, and then I got that sort of treatment, so that killed me. It did kill me, and I was that disappointed. I came out of the GP, went straight to the shop, because I felt let down in a way. But that was where I was at that time. Hi Paul, hi Caroline, hi Azza, hi Anne, JD, how you doing? So people coming and going. We've got 4 people here now. So yeah, just tread carefully with your friends and loved ones. You know, don't talk at them, talk to them. You know, reassure them. Offer to take them to AA meetings, but the first protocol is definitely the GP. So yeah, I mean, the system at the NHS now, you go to your GP, it's signposted, they refer you or point you in the right direction to specialist people who are trained to deal with you, if you like, depending on what your problem is, what your addiction is, or what your mental state is. You know, there is, and like mental health and addiction problems, you know, the stigma is becoming less, I feel. you know, especially mental health. And like me doing this now, you know, I'm comfortable doing this. You know, it doesn't bother me. I can talk. You know, I've talked to school kids. I've talked to classrooms full of school kids about this, and I, I like to talk about it because I feel like I'm winning, um, and and I like to share my story. You know, if somebody's prepared to listen, I'll talk. I don't mind. You know, I've had criticism as well. I've had criticism about this. People saying, "Oh, why are you wasting your time?" You know, people saying, "Oh, you just want thumbs up and likes and hearts and smiley faces on Facebook," and it's like that. It, for me, that's just so how narrow-minded people are. Um, you know, the way I see it, I'm doing this because I've been in a position where a lot of people are, and it's horrible. I'm not going to lie, it's horrible. I've been in that position where you're contemplating taking your own life, and I wouldn't wish that upon anyone to be in that position. And I've been there a couple of times, and I thought, right, this is too painful, life's too hard, everything's against me, I'm going to end it. And I'm glad I didn't. You know, where I am in my life now, you know, I some of you who know me, you know, personally, know I played football for nearly 18 years professionally, and where I am in my life now, I'm happier than when I was playing football professionally, if you like. I'm happier now than I was walking out at Anfield or Old Trafford, you know, or White Hart Lane, you know, because I was in a mess then. Um, and there's a lot of footballers who are the same. But where I am, you know, the stage I am in my recovery, I'm happy with. I'm proud. Um, and you should want your friends or family who you're concerned about. You know, you want them to feel proud of themselves because they've lost all self-respect. You know, if they're drinking daily and they're in a bad place and they're lying all the time, you know, they've lost all self-respect, and you've got to build that up. You know, a true friend will help. A friend that helps them, takes them out, gets them pissed. You know, a friend that, you know, makes buys them drinks and go out. They're not friends. They're not helping. Um, they're not friends. And hindsight's a funny thing because I look back, um, and I didn't have friends. You know, some of you may know I've moved with football, moved quite a few times around the country, and you know, you build friendships up in every place that you live. But I tended to invite people into my world rather than me being invited out to drink. I try and surround myself with people, and that was my excuse to drink. Then I'd invite people round. Seriously, I would try and I'd supply all the drink, and I'd just be there to give me an excuse to drink. I used to love watching football on TV. It wasn't asked about the football. It was just an excuse to have a drink. You know, people around, people would come and visit us when we lived in Swansea or when we lived in the northeast. That was an excuse to get shit faced all the time, and that fell right into my hands. And it's looking back, you know, you know, you recognise it now, but at the time you don't see it, and it's frightening. But it's obvious. It's obvious. Um, so yeah, I can't reiterate enough how important it is to get your friends or family member who you're concerned about, get them to the GP. That's the first port of call. You know, register. You need to register with the GP where they're at in their lives and what they're doing, because, like I say, emergency treatment will differ should that person need it. You know, like drugs, if the person overdoses and it's not on their NHS records of what they're taking or what they're doing and quantities and things like that, they could have emergency treatment that could kill them. That's how important it is. Or, you know, somebody who's drinking constantly, who is classed as an alcoholic, if you like, if they become unconscious and they are unconscious for a long time, you know, emergency paramedics, they need to know, because their body will switch off. If they don't get alcohol in their system or a substitute for that, if they're in hospital in intensive care because of an accident, their body will start switching off if they're in a bad way. So it's imperative that you get your friends, your loved ones to the GP. Offer, you know, if you're a good friend or you're a good family member, go along with them to AA meetings. You might find, you know, the person who doesn't have the problems, you know, you might find some good advice on how to cope with it. You know, we all have triggers. And you can pick some good advice up at AA meetings, Gamblers Anonymous, and things like that. So it's been another hard week. You know, people are really concerned about friends and family. But we, you know, if we keep doing this and we keep talking, then, you know, it takes the stigma away. And, you know, if people see this and people who know me see what problems I've had, then, you know, it might encourage people to seek help. That's, you know, I get asked, why am I doing it? You know, why are you wasting your time? I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. You know, I've fought the battles. What would I be doing now anyway? I'm sat watching TV or YouTube or something like that. So why not do this? Why not talk to people and pass on advice that I've been given, pass on techniques and tools that I've been taught? Personally, I think it'd be selfish if I didn't do it. But if, like I've said, if one person sees this and then they go to the GP and they get signposted to get help, then it makes it all worthwhile. So share this if you will. Like I say, for me personally, talking is a great relief. I find it, you know, it relieves a lot of stress, and, you know, there's a saying, isn't there, something, problem half, problem shared, or something like that. And it's true. So the more, like I say, the more people we get talking about it, and the easier it might be for somebody to talk and get help. So that's the reason why I'm doing it. And like I say, if one person sees this, goes to the GP and starts getting help, then it's all worthwhile. Okay, so we've been on nearly 55 minutes. Gonna leave it there. Like I've said in the past videos, in the past streams, if you want any advice, want any help, or, you know, I can point you in the right direction, or if you want to just talk about where you're at in your life and you feel like you've got problems, you know, maybe I can relate to them problems and we can have a chat. I don't mind at all. Like I say, I think it'd be selfish if I didn't help people, so that's why I'm doing it. But yeah, feel free to message me. If you want to chat on the phone, send me a message with your number, and when I'm available, I'll give you a shout. I'll give you a ring, and we'll go from there. So, right, we'll call it a day there. So take care, everyone, and I shall see you all soon. Ta-ta. Ta-ta for now.